Bannerlord can be a brutally hard game. Often you're outnumbered and massive armies march against you. Well, in this new series, we're going to work together, friends. What I want you to do is send me your difficult situations that you're either currently encountering in Bannerlord in your campaign, or something that you've dealt with in the past where you're just unable to solve it. I will do my very best to handle these difficult situations. I will share the results on YouTube, provided they have some kind of educational value for people. We will take on these difficult challenges, do some battlefield analysis, and hopefully help you turn around a very, very difficult battle. So join me on this adventure. Please send me your difficult situations. Have a little patience. I don't know how many there are going to be, but I'm willing to take these challenges on for you fellas as we handle your disasters of war. All right, welcome back again, friends, to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. We remain dedicated to this Disasters of War series. Another day, and hopefully another day of success here for Daniel and this Sturgeon war that we are in here. Let's do a little bit of a recap here. I'm reorienting myself a little bit. We haven't had a chance to play in a day, but most of this situation is as I remember it. So let's do a little bit of a recap here. I'll briefly put this fella's email up. We are helping a fella who popped up on Reddit and said, I'm having difficulties in my campaign. In fact, he said, basically, am I cooked? Is the campaign over? And that is because of this kind of stuff here, right? When you look at his enemy forces that he's at war with, you can see he's paying tribute to the Khazate. He has huge disadvantages in total strength. Total strength basically is armies in the field, right? Troops in the field. And he has these little tiny fractions compared to his enemy. He's paying tribute to two different kingdoms. In addition to that, he's in a really bloody war against the Sturgeons that we're starting to turn the corner on. And then last episode, the Northern Empire also declared war on you. I said war on you, Daniel, war on Daniel here. He asked for help, and that's, of course, what we do here at Tactical Enlightenment. We're trying to help you guys solve difficult situations with the experience that's on the channel here, with the gameplay experience that we have at Bannerlord. We're doing our very best to help players here. Now, we are going to try to continue to help him by taking Ustakal Castle to start this episode. We're going to talk a little bit about his situation some more, talk about what we did in the previous episode, and basically highlight some of the challenges and goals for this campaign. We've had his campaign now for about a month, I guess a month and a half here. And we do have 4 trebuchets set up here. We're going to try to blast down the walls, or at least a wall on Ustakal Castle, and this is why. Daniel has been up against manifestly larger forces than his own. In this case, you know, we're outnumbered almost 2-to-1 here, and this is not normally a recommended process. When you guys are sieging in Bannerlord, you want to have equal number of attackers to defenders, or even more, right? A lot of guys would say you want to outnumber the defenders 2-to-1. Nevertheless, despite being outnumbered, we did blast our way through in a bloody siege of Revel in the previous episode. So in addition to Varcheg, now he has Revel as a keep, and Revel is enormously prosperous. You can see, let's see, how do we view that? You can see how much money this thing is making. It's a big money maker for Daniel now, right? It's making 3,000 a day in taxes, all the lordship of all these peasants that go out to the fields each day and pick crops, 16-hour days, backbreaking work, helps you get rich. We're going to add Ustakal Castle to this, and then we're going to have to deal with the Northern Empire. Now, the Sturgeons are on death's door. They are also being attacked by the Khazate. In fact, let's look. The Omor was being sieged. The last time I looked, in fact, the Khazate have taken Omor from the Sturgeons. So the Sturgeons are on life support, and we're going to pull the plug on them here, right? This siege is going to be devastating to them. And the reason I'm taking down the walls here, of course, is the size of the defense force. At Revel, we went over the walls, and then the cost was pretty significant. Here, we can't afford to have significant losses, right? We've got more war to come. In fact, speak of the devil, the Northern Empire is now sieging Varcheg. So now there's a little bit of urgency, right? In fact, a fair bit of urgency. I would say we probably have 5 or 6 days to get to Revel before it falls. So let's take a look at the defense force. You can actually go in here with our medieval satellite and we can see precisely. They give us a manifest of exactly how many troops are there. It's not very accurate. Maybe you can even go, I think, to this page and it'll tell you precisely how many troops are there at Varcheg, how old they are, which one of them didn't brush their teeth this morning, etc. Right? It's not exactly realistic, but nevertheless, this is what we have. Now, there's no archers there at Varcheg. They do have a small militia, and they have about 300 troops. So I would say we have about 6 days at most before the city falls, maybe 5. So what that means here is that now there is a little bit of urgency to these walls. It is, the sun is setting on summer 12. I would say we want to be attacking this city, regardless of conditions here, by, I will say, early summer 14. Now the walls are slowly being beaten down, but Daniel, as we talked about in the last episode, does not have great engineering skill. He does have an engineering companion, but they also don't have great engineering skill. And we're sort of paying for that here, right? In the slowness of this siege, right? Ordinarily, if you have 200 or 250 siege skill here, you just blast right through this keep here. But alas, that is not the case. So we're going to speed this up just a little bit here. We could siege before, right? I could just say launch right now, but there would be dire losses. I mean, we're outnumbered. We might even fail to take this castle, where, of course, if we successfully take it quickly and don't have too many casualties, then we should be able to make it to Varcheg. Now, you can kind of spy on Varcheg here. You see how this says 149? Okay, so the siege hasn't started yet. Usually on this page here, it'll actually update. I'm not sure if the developers are aware of that, but it's sort of a little way to secret spy, basically gain information that you should never really have in a situation like this, right? You would never have precise information like that overnight, as if you have, you know, a Wi-Fi connection sent down to Varcheg, right? They must have 5G or something like that, because our information comes through very quickly and very accurately. Maybe not the most realistic thing, but that is kind of what it is. All right, so I'm getting urgent here. I'm becoming a little bit more urgent by the second. Okay, and they have started to siege it down. You see this? I think it said 149 before. Now it's 137. So that means they're actively sieging down Varcheg. That means we need to destroy this wall and this catapult right now, right in the next, I would say, 20 seconds. We need to start this siege. Otherwise, we won't make it to Varcheg, and all of this will be pointless. All right, so it's very urgent. Okay, the wall is down. Bang, bang, bang. We got one catapult left. We just need one lucky shot on that catapult. Bang. And that is it, right? Now we start this siege here, and then we're going to race down to Varcheg. We might still be too late. I might have cut it a little bit short here. Sometimes when you're very close to a goal like that, you take a chance like that, and it backfires. We shall see. Now, normal player damage for this whole series, and we will talk about our strategic approach to Ostapel Castle here. Normal player damage, yeah. All right. Now, we've got a hole in the wall. We also have a siege tower and a siege ramp. So we've got quite the assortment to blast our way through this city. But we're still going to be strategic about it. We've got this hole over here. What we want to do is focus our troops over there, push a hole, and then blast our way through the city. Now, we have the 1st Division here. Very tough infantry. That's our best infantry. 2nd Infantry. Okay, we've got some skirmishers there. How come we have so few infantry? Something's off here. Okay, you see this? Look at this. 19, 16, 57, 13. You pattern recognition guys know there's a problem here. Let's look at this division. Look at this shit. For whatever reason, probably because this guy is an infantry type, they are putting infantry in this division, even though it's clearly labeled archers. Let's fix it. We'll just change this again, back to archers, and it fixes that. Voila, right? Suddenly, we have a lot more infantry, and we're going to need them, right? There's a huge defense force here. We cannot afford to sort of tinkle our way into this city, right? We're going to have to smash mouth our way in here. Now, we still want the ram mounted. There's nobody on the ram right now. We want to make sure that that ram has troops on it, right? In fact, where's the 3rd Division? 333. I don't know where they are. Oh, they're there. So the 4th Division. The 4th Division should be here. For whatever reason, it was not assigned there. This is not great. It's mostly shock troops. They're going to get shelled by archers, but that's okay. Like, it's there's not much we can do about it. We don't have that many shields, and I have to have shields for the guys going through the wall. Now, 1st, 2nd, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Those are our archer divisions. I'm going to give this side 1 division. In other words, I'm going to give that right side 1 archer division, and all of the rest of the infantry and archers we're going to send through this left side. Right? We're going to try to overwhelm the enemy with shock and awe. Now we're going to move our units up methodically here because the ram has to get to the wall, right? These archers have to, or excuse me, the siege tower has to get up here. So we've got a little bit of time to scorch some little insolent sturgeon fucks here on the walls. Try to blow a hole here. Now the 2nd division, I'm going to hold fire. I don't want those skirmishers throwing 80,000 javelins at these guys when they probably can't hit them, especially since I can. And this is your job as a commander, is to pick off the obvious low-hanging fruit. Chuck a few javelins in here. Now look at what we're facing, right? It's just the whole courtyard full of shields. If you go in right now, in other words, if I just charge with those troops, what'll happen is they will send huge amounts of troops over to that side of the castle to defend. We're going to wait 30 seconds here, and I must mention at this stage, I do not have access to the RTS mod. In fact, Daniel is playing this on pure vanilla with achievements enabled, and so in order to honor that, we have accepted no mods for this campaign, right? So we are playing kind of the form that a lot of you guys on the console are dealing with, and I think that's good, right? We don't mind the challenge here, although it does mean that I thought that guy's dead or alive. He's dead. He's hit in the face with an arrow. We are, restricted somewhat by that, and it also means that the siege takes a little bit longer. But we're willing to take that small inconvenience here in order to honor your guys' requests, right? When you send in your save games for this series, and you want something certain, maybe you want no Battanian, you hate maybe you're racist and hate Battanian units. If that's what you want, I will honor that, or at least try to honor that. Now, if you say, I want to play with only cavalry, even in siege, I'm going to say, well, find some other person who will do your Disasters of War series. That sounds boring. I may still, reject what you want me to do for your campaign, but for the most part, I try to go along with what you guys want. Now, 1st Division, 2nd Division, it's time to blast a hole here. The ram and the siege tower are making their way up, and the instinct here is to charge. Most players tend to charge. We're not going to charge. We're going to physically shove these guys into the keep, and the reason is because if you charge, they basically get bottled up right here at the entrance. We're going to take these guys and shove them into the city. So it's hard to see. See the little flags there? I'm physically telling our guys to get into the castle. And that's going to help them enter a lot better than if you tell these guys to attack. Little bull cut sturgeon warriors are attacking and not concerned about that. Systematically move our archers up here. The 8th archers we're leaving on that other side. And that's so that they have a little bit of support on the walls. Look at our guys go, though, right? If you charge, they wouldn't be moving in like this. Every single guy who's told his troops to charge in this situation has experienced it. They plod their way up to that opening, and they make no access. Now, we've got a breach. Now you charge, right? You can put these guys in shield wall. I'm actually going to drag the archers in behind us here. And as soon as I can, I'm going to get behind them here, right? Basically, you want to get behind. That way you can start cutting the sturgeons in the back, right? These guys pointing their shields forward, very vulnerable to getting troops behind them. So we're loose, and Daniel's character is a beast, right? We're just going to move right through here. Guys are shooting at us. That's okay. In fact, we'll take all this attention. He's got enough athleticism to survive this. You can always whip your shield out and run to your troops, but mostly you just want to keep moving here, draw attention, and try to get behind the enemy forces. Now these forces are going to rout, like these little militia. These guys are not designed. They're used to, milking a cow and shit like that. These guys are not capable of fighting an uber Conan the Barbarian type. Right? These guys are going to melt. And these guys here facing the wrong direction, they can't defend, right? And so they're very vulnerable to being attacked from behind. Got to watch our health here a little bit, right? We're not Conan the Barbarian truly. We can still get killed, but as long as you keep moving, swinging this very, very fast sword, you can wreck shop in this situation. Now we are taking the majority of the attention here, but that's okay, right? The other forces are going to come through other locations, and when they get into the city here, we're going to be able just to blow through these defenders. Now it really does seem like the sturgeons have all aggroed to our location. It's okay, we will persevere. The first thing I notice is the fucking door is not covered at all. No one's even bothering defending it. So we will open it up for the rest of our troops here. These stubborn sturgeons. No one blocks quite like a sturgeon. Even their militia. This guy, look at him, just hold his shield up. Alright, so whatever reason, these guys here were lazy. Get your asses in here, join the fucking fun, boys. We're kind of busy. The death sounds. Now, we could switch to one hand too, right? That's certainly an option at this stage. I haven't even used our archers. In fact, our archers should be charging here. They can get some good line of sight. Here's the Lord guarding the city. She was just crumples like a bitch. And this is part of the reason we use mods, right? The Lords and Vanilla Bannerlord are just so weak. They just absolutely crumple. The enemy army is 60% of trucks and ghetto troops. You just need that extra challenge, right, that the vanilla game just doesn't provide. Now, of course, we're very experienced. The average player playing Bannerlord, it's intimidating. This game is very difficult. But it wasn't for us this siege. We can commit some war crimes here since we're still embracing our Baron York. And even though that wasn't quite the strategy for this siege, it was still very effective. Smashed our way through here. The sturgeons melt like butter. And even though a lot of our troops here did not participate, still a very easy siege. Now, Daniel, I know these are your troops, but sometimes, you got to have a little bit of discipline with your troops in situations like this. These brave guys here who just watered the ground of this city with their blood, right? These guys worked hard, and for whatever reason, these other infantry over there did not work hard. Let's go ahead and throw a couple javelins into their skulls. I digress, but victory is still victory. At 120 casualties, we blasted our way through 750 here. Had we not blown a hole in this keep, we would have lost an enormous tally of troops, right? There's a huge difference between those two. Now, they're inside the keep here. I think we can just auto-resolve this. Yeah. We're not going to waste our time at the little interior keep thing. Come with us, you dipshit. That's the guy we trucked to the ground and smashed to pieces. We don't actually want a lot of prisoners here, right? Because we're in a little bit of a race now. We got to get to Varcheg, and we got to get there quick. So let's see how many defenders there are, and from there we can estimate basically how many troops we can afford to take with. In other words, we may leave a bunch of troops here at this city, get some more elite loot for you. We may not be able to afford to take our full army. Let's take a peek here. All right, 241. I can just tell you from my Bannerlord experience, we are going to have to race there. So, in order to make it there in time, we're going to gamble a little bit here. I'm going to take a few of these armies that are smaller, and we're going to give them some of our worst troops. Main reason we're doing that is because we need to move fast. If we have these troops in our army, we'll move a lot slower. And more effectively, what I mean by is these guys here, right? If we have these sturgeon forces here, we will move very slow. So we're going to go ahead and give them some troops. That way they have at least some chance to sort of defend here. They'll be able to do, hopefully, some decent work here. And what I mean by that essentially is defend, not get captured by the sturgeons. More than likely, they're going to go inside the city, even though we're going to try to blow a hole. I'm just going to leave, let's see, 1, 2. We need to dump probably some grain on the ground. Okay, we're going to dump this grain on the ground. 2.8. Okay, 2.8, that's good. Not encumbered. We can take whatever it is until it goes below 2.8. We can take a little bit of grain to Varcheg because they're going to need it. Right? And now away we go. And it's very much a race. Now, these guys might get captured. Why? Because they're dipshits. Now, unfortunately, they may attack, especially because we're leading the way here. Don't actually want them to attack. If they attack here, let's see, what do we do? Might even leave some of these troops with us. Let's see what Varcheg looks like. Now, again, we got our little satellite, right? We must have 5G down to Varcheg because we get instant real-time data. Not sure that's realistic. These sturgeons are all on the run. Don't really want these troops behind us here to attack. If they attack, they're doing so because we're nearby. Right? These forces, you can sort of picture it like one of those yapping dogs that hides behind their owner. They think they can win because we're with them, but we're not going to join them here, right? If we help them, we're going to lose Varcheg. So 180. And I'll make a critical point here on cities and castles. See the defenders there, 174. And of course, it's not static. The only reason it's not static is because I'm not holding it. I'm not bouncing back and forth. Cities collapse at about 100. It goes from 100 to 0 in like 2 seconds. In other words, it's not linear. It's going down right now, 163, but it's going down very slowly. Let's see if these guys get attacked and captured in here. That's a risk I'm willing to take here in order to get to Varcheg in time. So right now, it seems like the siege is going slowly, 150, 149, but once it gets to 100, this siege is toast, and this city is going to fall. Now, castles are different. Castles down to about 30, as one of our clan members has sex while we're running here. Castles at about 30 collapse. So castles are slower to cave in. In other words, if you have a castle that's falling, you can afford to get there a little later. Cities, though, after they get to about 100, are absolutely toast. Now, what was that shot? 113. Man, it's going to be absolutely razor tight. 113, 109. You want to click the closest thing, especially in a race like this. The music is like race-worthy. 102, 99, 78. You see how quickly it's going down? 56. Oh, it's going to be close. 9, 2. Oh my God. There are 2 defenders inside this castle. Now, a lot of guys are like, well, you're insane. There's 939 attackers. You lose 278. Here's the thing. We got catapults here, and through a strange game mechanic, we're going to be able to sneak in here with like 80% of our army. We're a little bit banged up. We've got some high-end troops, though, and if we can get in with 230, 240 troops, this city will be ours, right? In other words, we'll be able to save this city here. Break in. You can picture there's 2 guys running to the back of the keep. We can't stop them. And then this army of Northern Empire is like, oh, they're coming in to defend. Why don't we go ahead and let their whole army in? That seems reasonable. Let them all in, right? So we get in somehow with 250 troops, and it's not going to be easy, but we should be able to save the city here. Now, this is even more unrealistic. You would never be able to set this up from scratch like this, but it is what it is, right? These are the game mechanics, and we'll take advantage of it. Again, it seems like this guy turns his archer division into archer infantry. You know, ironically, I'll take it because I've got an idea for this division. I want a little bit of support up here. Again, we don't have enough archers, Daniel, and you're seeing one of the difficulties. In fact, it's going to be a real problem here. We might even lose because we don't have quite enough archers. Now, our initial infantry at the gate can be just 40 guys. That's all we need because these are your best infantry. Like, these guys are absolute beasts. Offset slightly like that. In fact, you want to put it, see that little line right down the center of the door? That's where I prefer it. That way, more or less, half of the door is open. That way, some of the enemy forces can get in, but not all of them, right? You want them kind of sneaking around the edge there. Why? Because we're going to smoke them with archers. Right? We're going to put the 5th Corps and the 6th Corps right here. Nice sprays with perfect angles and line of sight to those guys. Now, the 2nd Division's skirmishers, we're going to use these guys as well, right? This little stairway right here. Look at this nasty shit here. That's all skirmishers throwing javelins, and they have a great line of sight, again, on the guys coming through the door there. Now, we've got the 3rd and the 4th. Let's take a closer look at these guys because we may need very specific strategies for this siege. The 4th is absolute trash, right? So this 4th division, I should have backed up. What do they have here? They have no siege towers. Okay. So what do they have here? They have ladders. They have ladders here. And they're hard to see. You guys are probably struggling. I'm struggling too. They have ladders there and there, right? So what do we want to do, right? We want to block up this. Let's put that ghetto division. Let's put that 3rd division right here. So a nice little division of infantry. They're not great, but those guys can hold that spot here. And a critical thing to understand here, since they have no siege ladders, we could try to destroy the ram. In fact, a lot of players would say just destroy the ram. With 3 catapults, I think it might even be easy to do that. We've got a catapult up there. This is not the best location. I think I would prefer all your siege weapons were down here. In fact, we'll just change that, right? With 3 catapults right here, I'm almost certain we can destroy that ram, but I'm reticent to do that because I really don't want to have a siege where they don't even engage in the siege. Believe it or not, Daniel, we're taking some chances with your campaign because I think it's easy enough to do so. Now, ordinarily, this side is very defendable, but the siege ladders are over here. The enemy's not likely to even bother with up here. And so we're not going to either, right? Why would we bother? We'll defend over here. We've got a fire catapult right here. I think that's probably the best spot for it, because from there we're going to be able to shell their troops, and once the enemy gets up to the gate, chuck fire catapults down onto their troops on the ram. We actually kind of want their troops to get to the door here. That way we can have a little bit of a challenge here. Now this 4th Division, I'm just going to keep back in an auxiliary manner. I don't actually need them right now. The enemy has no way down, right? I guess conceivably they could come around here. We'll deal with that if that happens. I think that's highly unlikely. So we have the 5th Division. I'm actually going to shift some archers over here, right? These guys coming up the siege ladder right here. Let's give them some archers so that as soon as the guys get up these ladders, they get smoked, right? This is one of the most basic principles of siege defense and Bannerlord. Let's try a division right here. In fact, we'll try them in just kind of a tight line. And what that does... What that does, of course, is it helps. They can shoot multiple directions. I don't actually like that. I'm going to change my mind on that already. Let's just put that 6th Division right here. You can see we're not taking that many chances. I'm not suffering an ignominious defeat here. Now, the 7th, I forgot. I made a hybrid division, but that's okay, right? We can still use these guys here. In fact, we'll put them over here in case we need to charge at those guys, right? So that means we're going to move everybody else over. I know I'm taking a long time with this. Hey, we got 200 troops here, and the Emperor's coming to hang you, right? You would take your time, too. And this is, I think, going to be ironclad defense, right? We'll see how it plays out. It may not. We're going to do a few things here to make it a little bit more efficient, micromanage this Javelin division. We're going to hold fire with those guys. We don't want them throwing javelins right away, right? We want those guys throwing javelins when there's a bunch of enemies to hit there. Now, we're kind of plinking them out of the way here as we move up to get to our fire catapult. And the sooner we get to these, the better, right? Because that way we can get all the glory, right? We're going to rack up some EXP for you, Daniel. Oh, we missed somehow. A bunch of scum pink uniforms are coming our direction. Here comes the ram. And I just have juicy targets, right? There's a huge pile of troops right in front of us here. And just kaboom, the whole screen, Beowulf, the hero. The AI is vigorously coming over here to try to climb those ladders, but we know what we have over there, right? In addition to a bunch of archers, there's infantry at the bottom of those stairs. Good luck over there, boys. Now, I can't speed it up. Ordinarily, we'd speed this up, so we'll just do some anecdotal stories here. What can we do? What can we do? We can do the rate of child death, right, in battles like this. I like to include historical facts. I'm a fan of history. In this era, there's a general feeling that lords especially were very reticent to be, I guess the way I would put it, the way we would put it today is loving to their children, right? There's a lot of documentation in both directions. A lot of social scientists have looked at it and they said, no, there was plenty of signs of affection towards young people, but it's pretty clear it's different than today where we have like huge gender reveals and shit like that. And the main reason is simple. They died. You don't really want to get attached to your children if they're going to be dying en masse. Now, I'm not sure where those guys are coming, but we like it, right? Join the slaughter. In fact, if you guys would stand right there, I would appreciate it. Look at these dipshits. And they're holding up their shields, too. Yeah, there you go. All right, now I want you guys to stop right there. Good. Everybody hold up your shield and say cheese. Excellent. Thank you, Legionary and stuff like that. Daniel, you're going to be like level 60 by the time we're done with this episode, especially if the AI keeps doing stuff like that. That is amazingly bad. It's hard to believe it's actually functioning that bad. I'm not aiming. I mean, I'm just telling you guys anecdotal stories. In fact, we'll just continue since the AI here is going to make a joke of itself. Now, they're coming over here for the ladders. They're very vigorously. They're excited. We've melted a huge amount of their troops already. And now we're going to be able to continue that, right? Not only can we can share a few with these guys coming up the ladders here. Yeah, come on up, you bitches. Why don't you guys compact yourself? There you go. Get a little bit tighter on there. Perfect. That's perfect. You feel like a photographer, like a wildlife photographer, only you're a death photographer for the idiotic AI. All right, you guys, if you would shield wall as tight as you possibly can, I would appreciate it, right? In fact, here, let's do some lumber. Yeah, if you guys could just go ahead and stand and tightly compact it, that would be great. In fact, I think they're all running already. Can't tell actually what's happening. Oh, you know what just happened? Our guys were successful at destroying the ram. So look at this too. These guys are running over here. Yeah, you guys go ahead and run to your point there, right? Whatever you do, don't attack the guy with the giant bomb. Just head over to your rally point there. Good luck, fellas. And they're probably going to rout before they even get to us. So I wasn't even paying attention, but our guys on the siege weapons destroyed the ram without my permission. Right, we'll make sure there's some summary executions after this siege. Now, I'll explain this AI behavior because on the surface it seems very strange, right? What the fuck are they doing? This is an AI program, and the reason they're doing that is because the AI thinks it's better to rally 100 troops inside the city before they charge, right? Basically, they get this massive charge of hundreds of guys. The problem is that they do it predictably, and they don't adjust. So you can just be pelting them with arrows, and they will continue to run to that rally point. Now, for some people, this shit's like magic killing. The shit I'm telling you here, and every once in a while we'll do an episode, and I'll kind of give a disclaimer, like, I apologize for, telling you guys that the Santa Claus doesn't exist in Bannerlord, right? This is just, it is what it is. I didn't make the system, and we are trying to help you guys, right? And some guys are like, well, you're exploiting the AI. Of course, that's what it's all about, right? That's when you defeat, when anybody defeated anybody in war, it was simply exploding. Now look at this fucking brutal shit here. I think I can hit these guys. And then they're stacked up as tight as they can. I have a giant pile of rocks here. Now we have no fear yet because the AI is very intent on rallying troops, even though we're melting their troops en masse over here. It feels like a bakery, right? Their units are just being, and the recipe says melt a little hot butter here on the enemy. Now that sounds like they're coming. I don't want to get trapped up here, right? These troops could conceivably trap us. That said, they're getting smoked also by archers. And it's awful juicy here to keep firing it. Look at it, it's like these guys are scorching them on the wall. I wonder if we could hit them at their rally point. That would truly be diabolical. We can insult these guys here and hit them over the head with rocks. But the siege is over. So infant mortality, right? As we wrap this siege up, you guys all understand the recipe for success here. Look what they're trying to come down into, right? You imagine you're the enemy and you get stuck right here like this infantryman. There's 400 infantrymen here. In fact, I can barely move. And then on top of that, of course, I'm exaggerating, but there's all these archers. We might suffer 20 casualties this whole battle. As the AI, by the way, you sort of notice how my graphics went haywire. That's because the enemy just freaked out. He's trying to figure out pathfinding, how to get out of the castle. And again, I apologize for telling you that the Bannerlord Santa Claus is not real. The AI units here, I think it's freaked out because they're stuck on the wall. Right? In fact, all these units here are just kind of frozen. They're trying to get down. Apologies if this is like giving you a seizure. They just stand there and take javelins in the back of the head. But it wouldn't have mattered. Very perfectly honestly, fellas, if the enemy had, if this was a player assaulting this city, they could not take it because of this defense structure. What we just set up there, there's no answer for it. Unless you have siege weapons or some other way to basically push in. And I can't remember ever seeing it bug out like this. The AI just does not know what to do. It's literally standing here like they got frozen in place. Feels like the Matrix. Unless, there was some way for them to shove a bunch of troops through the front gate or something like we did, and we would just shut the gate on them. This siege was never a situation the enemy could take. And again, I apologize for telling you that the Bannerlord Santa Claus isn't real. The AI in Bannerlord, and more accurately, the siege defense of certain cities is virtually untakeable. I don't know if I've had one that bad. This is a 100-to-1 kill ratio. And admittedly, the enemy didn't even really get into the city, but that's the whole point. If you know how to defend in Bannerlord, it's very difficult for the AI to get in certain cities. Certain cities. There are other cities where it's much, much harder to defend than we just defended. But this was a pretty crass example, right? They had no chance. And I love that we got here with 2 troops left, right? We'll talk about our rescue. Now we can take all the prisoners we want, right? The urgency is gone. Apart from throttling some sturgeon armies and putting them, stepping on their neck, this urgency, I just said this campaign, your campaign is nearly over. And what I mean by that, at least, is this Disasters of War series is nearly over. I'm trying to think of what other objectives I want to accomplish here. I think I'll still look for a few more opportunities to punch the enemy in the nose, because that is the key to getting favorable peace treaties. In this case, the one that makes the sense the most is the Sturgeons, right? The Sturgeons have a castle. Look at these guys, they escaped. I don't think we can catch them. 3.1 speed. We're not going to be able to catch them. So some of this scum Northern Empire did escape, but the Sturgeons had, so they have Flintold Castle. They also, I thought they had Atrion Castle. Maybe they lost it. No, they do still. They have Atrion Castle way over here in the middle of nowhere. They have Flintold Castle. So what do you do here, right? You want a favorable peace with the Sturgeons? You pound Flintold Castle. You leave them only one castle. And then what we'll have done here is completely booted them out. It'll be just a savage booting of the Sturgeons here, basically completely shutting them out of the Northern Peninsula, take all their territory, take their lunch money, take their wives, kick sand in their face, and then pat ourselves on the back. There will be no peace with the Sturgeons. Our vassals are still asking for peace with the Sturgeons. Fortunately, we're at the stage where we can just simply overrule them. Now, don't mind some more battle here, but of course we need to, still be methodical. Just because we've been rolling over everything doesn't mean that our army of 200 troops can just smash everything. In fact, our army's about to get a lot smaller here. Why? Because we suffered a lot of losses and left a lot of troops there, right? We're probably going to leave 100 at most in here. And of course, the militia got mangled there, right? That time it took us to get here to help this situation did cost us a lot, right? We lost a lot of militia. Now, obviously, it allowed us to completely slaughter that Northern Empire force. Just so you guys know, generally in an auto-resolve situation like that, where the AI is pounding down on your city, one of the things that happens is their first-line troops are the first to die, right? They fight the hardest. Just like in a real siege, generally the best troops are towards the front. And so you could really say that our militia took one for the team there, right? It got mangled trying to hold back that huge Northern Empire force, and we appreciate their sacrifice or whatever, right? Their digital pixels. You guys understand what I mean, right? They took one for the team there and allowed us to come in and look like heroes. All right, now we'll just grab a bunch of this shit here. I never leave olives and shit like that in a city, nor am I going to leave them animals, right? We'll slaughter all of that. I think, don't we have still that tools quest? I can't remember. No, okay, we got that quest done. I always like to carry some tools, just because inevitably at some point or other you run into that quest. And I think we're good to go here, right? We dumped a bunch of food. I guess we could sell some equipment in case we get captured like a bitch. Oh, never mind, they have no money here. That's right, we just sold all our shit. All right, so let's see if we have any nobles we can gather up. I also kind of want to investigate to the north here, right? We want to make sure that there's no roaches in our kitchen. Now look at the situation here. That looks really dire, right? 17 plus 125. But don't forget how long it takes for an enemy to start a siege. We have a while. What the fuck's this guy? Carbanthith Rebels. I love this shit. I wish you could ally and be like, hey, sign an alliance, dude. I know there's some mods for that shit, but obviously we're not using mods. Now I'm going this direction to make sure that there's no Sturgeons in here raiding, right? I'm also doing it so we can heal. Suffered major, major losses there. The last reason to do it is, of course, we can continue to pick up troops. This looks like it's being actively raided, right? That's it either just got raided or is being actively raided, right? We're not about to tolerate that shit. Now, I don't mind Varcheg being sieged here. Why? Because we're going to be very quick, Johnny on the spot to get back there. Now, this is kind of perfect, right? This Sturgeon force here, this is even better, right? This guy has managed to trap himself, and the timing is beautiful. It's going to be daylight here, right? Oh, shit, except he just fucking totally, well, I fucked us there. I went the wrong way around that pass. Now, the good news is that we're faster than him. The even better news is this is probably all the Sturgeons that are in here, right? So we are faster than him. We are going to be able to catch him. And now at this stage, he's going the direction we want, right? So on some level, I'm okay with just herding him until we get him right to the gates of Varcheg. The only thing bad that could happen at this stage is 500 Northern Empire coming the other direction. You're not getting away, dude. Sorry. He's trying to run off into the hills. Stop. And I think we will fight this, again, to demonstrate tactics. The channel's name is Tactical Enlightenment. But if you auto-resolve this, you will suffer huge losses, right? Probably 70% of your army will be injured or wounded. Let's aim for a third. Yeah, this battlefield again, right? All right. I didn't look, but it's just almost a given. With the Sturgeons, you can expect 70%, maybe even more infantry. It's just normal. 6th Division is way too big. Now, when you have a big division like that, if you have good companions, it's better to put them in that division, right? Your big divisions, if you guys are fans of big divisions, I would recommend that you put those guys with your best captains, right? Because if you're going to have a whole bunch of troops allocated to one division, obviously it makes sense for them to have, more troops that it's benefiting. All right, 1, 2, 3. Let's look at our shock troops here. I forgot we moved that to cavalry. So 1, 2, 3. We don't have a shock troop division, which is probably fine. We have a huge 6th division. It's kind of a mix of skirmishers and archers. Doesn't matter too much. Again, this is really where you're feeling the lack of archers, right? I would love to have 130 archers. This battle would be a lot easier, but we're still probably going to be able to mop up these boys pretty quickly here. And maybe we'll have one more battle after this. We'll see, right? These battles do take longer because of the lack of the RTS mod. I wonder if they're going to try to run up the hills again here and hide in the hills. They sure look like it. Now, the AI does a pretty decent job of at least seeking high ground, right? You want to have high ground, but they don't always do it. A lot of times they just give it up, right? Quite readily, and that's obviously bad strategy. Let's go ahead and get our cap back. No reason to lose these guys. Where are you guys going? Let's see what this AI is going to do here. Yeah, they are. They're going straight up the hill again. This is almost the exact same behavior of the other battle we had on this map. It's almost like certain maps, the AI is like, head up, head up. If you have a lot of archers, it makes sense, right? If you don't have many archers and they get hit in the face with a javelin, it makes less sense. Now, you killed yourself, dude. I was throwing a javelin there clearly before you were there. Not my fault you got in the way, dipshit. Now all we're doing here is just concentrating forces. We don't actually have enormous tactical advantages. We do have ranged units, tactical advantage from the range side, and we're trying to get our units moved up together. Not a lot of tactical advantage actually when the enemy gets way up on a hill like that. Just like the previous battle against them though when they went up high, we do have better archers than them. They have very few archers. Let's get that 8th Corps out of there. He's getting shelled. Actually, here's some of the archers right here. For some reason or other, and this is really bad AI, their infantry's up on the hill, but their archers are not, right? They're literally down here in the valley with a sign on it that says, come trample me with horses. This is particularly egregious right here. So, we will comply. We'll bring our archers and cavalry right into their face. You know, I'm sure some guys watch and they're like, man, this guy's salty to the AI. You just want to see it be better, right? It should be better. You know, AI generally, of course, is improving considerably, but video game AI, of course, lags a little behind. You're not going to get generative AI, right? We're not going to get AI where it's adapting like, what is it, Chess Blue or Google Blue or whatever. But it should be better than this, right? Where the archers stayed down here on the ground level while the rest of their forces went up high. Like the infantry went up high, like they were all looking for a place to pee themselves, while their archers were just right there at ground level for our infantry to steamroll. Now we're bringing in cavalry behind the enemy. Hammer and anvil is not really much of a thing in Vanderbilt. It doesn't have nearly the effect. We're just moving that square so our skirmishers and archers can spray the enemy here. And now our infantry can charge. The enemy is sandwiched between tons of units, etc., etc. I know that wasn't the most obvious tactical advantage or tactical demonstration when the enemy moves up on the hill like that and all their archers are down here with the sign that says kill me, right? There's only so much tactics that are necessary too. I think we killed more of our own troops there than the enemy did. All right, another pretty successful battle. That's a lot more casualties than I anticipated, but it is what it is, right? We narrate and film at the same time here, and sometimes things don't go beautifully. Now this is where the RTS mod is really really nice. Way on the other side of the battlefield, evidently there's some guy obstinately refusing to leave the battle. In fact, I can't tell even where they are. I just know it's this direction because that's where our troops are running to. and this battle drags on because of that, right? There's one dude, and I can't end the battle. That looks like him there, maybe. Yeah, it is what it is. Now, I'm a believer that the RTS mod should work and still enable achievements. I guess some guys think it's too much of an advantage as a commander to be able to fly ahead of your troops and just look all over the battlefield. I guess I understand that. Maybe they could freeze the camera or something like that. I'm not a achievement guy. I've never played a campaign, you know, with all the achievements being unlocked. I'm an old guy. I don't give a shit about stuff like that. And this is a sight for sore eyes, right? That Sturgeon force looks like they had captured either some of our troops or some of the brigands or whatever. We'll take it, right? We can badly use the troops. We remain of the stage of buy all troops at all costs, right? Now, there's for sure a strategic suggestion here that against the Northern Empire, you just pay for peace, right? That's one of the worst parts of the diplomacy system is you can literally, no matter what, you can get peace, right? I assure you, Hitler would not have taken a peace treaty in 1942, 1941, maybe in 44, right? But you should never be able just to automatically have peace whenever you want. I know now I just sound like a ranting old dude, but that is part of the reason that guys use mods, whether it's for the diplomacy mod or whatever it is. There's so many illogical parts of Bannerlord, and that's for sure one of them, right? We're now locked in, engaged in this new war against the Northern Empire, and anytime we want, we can just have a cheap peace. That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? They should at least extract an extraordinary amount of money, right? They should basically be like, no. You know, we want 50,000 a day, right? Fucking 50,000, just like Joe Pesci yelled in Casino. 10,000, no, fucking 50,000. They take it, but they don't want to give it back, right? The AI is way too generous with peace treaties. In some situations, they should just outright refuse. Hell no, no peace. No, we want to pay you 50,000. Hell no. Why would we take peace when we can just destroy you, right? And these are the kind of things that hopefully Tail Worlds is working on. Now we pick up another one of our little stray armies here. We're going to continue to pick up mercenaries at a breathtaking pace. And I think after we siege, which one do we do here? I think after we siege Flinthold Castle, the Sturgeons will beg us for peace. How much? They will pay us in tribute already. We decline, right? We want more money, just like Joe Pesci. Fucking 1,300. We want fucking 15,000. Fuck you. Go get it. We want lots of money. Now this is actually one of the hardest perk selection. You can change these later on there, Daniel. But if you're running an army like I recommend, 30 to 50% skirmishers and archers, I recommend this one. That way when you're sieging, your guys are throwing javelins forever. This affects your character too. Right? So now your other guy might have that perk already. This guy, if he doesn't, okay, yeah, you already got it. Now it's curious, why am I getting siege skills? Oh, you know why? Because we're blowing guys up with siege weapons, right? So I would continue to push your engineering. Even with 5 intelligence points, you can get way over 200 on your own. And I think that's really valuable. It's good to have one of your dudes, I was going to say dudes, one of your companions, one of your clan members with that kind of shit, because they're going to be out there defending castles too. But I think it's most important for your own character. That's why we commonly on the channel, we recommend 7, 8, 9, even 10 points towards intelligence, right? Really, really valuable. Now there's a strong probability, again, of another Northern Empire attack up here on Varcheg. Let's see what the defense force looks like here. That's pretty manageable. There's a lot less defenders here. I think we can slam this castle very quickly, and then we'll see what kind of peace the Sturgeons beg us for. Now we got to do it kind of quick. We're not gonna siege down the walls like the previous one. We will try to destroy a fire catapult or two. We're also close to Varcheg, right? It'd be pretty easy for us to get back there at this stage. But this is again where your siege skill kills you. If you have high siege skill, the siege camp is already built. In fact, I've, of course, played characters with 300 plus siege skill. It's amazing. You just roll through the enemy in an unbelievably fast fashion. Now, I just saw something I want to look at. Khazate. Okay, I thought the Khazate were at war with the Northern Empire. Obviously, that would make it even easier for us to sort of ignore the... We're back. A little bit of a snafu there. I had my recording software shut off and not want to come back on, so we did have to make a save game, but we are back to basically the same spot. In fact, we will just continue on here We are sieging Flintold Castle, and it shouldn't be too long here before we are smashing through the attackers that are inside. Now, my train of thought got interrupted. Apologies for that. Technology sometimes, all you can do is shake your fist at it. Us old guys shake our fist at it, and you young guys are like, come on, Boomer, you'll be all right. Now, they're building catapult after catapult after catapult. This is not so good, right? If we try to siege while they have all these catapults, we will get blasted. The good news is that the catapults that are inside a castle are not as effective. They're built a little bit slower, and they're much easier to destroy. So we're going to be able to pound these guys pretty quickly. I've never seen that before. He shot a fire catapult off into the forest. I don't know what's happening there. I think that's a graphical glitch. It's kind of funny looking. But we're going to be able to hammer our way through Flintold Castle here. And again, hopefully it's a castle where we can illustrate some of the same tactics that work the same. We're not always going to use the same tactic for every single castle siege, but a lot of them very similar. Now, you can go with just a ram, especially if it's just a castle like this. But let's see how much they're... Oops. Okay, so after this siege, we'll see how much the Sturgeons want to give us. I'm still going to destroy this fire catapult here. You cannot accept a siege peace treaty, a peace treaty right in the middle of a siege, which maybe doesn't make a lot of sense here. What was I saying? Yeah, anyways, this guy firing it off into the distance. I was going to say you can do it, of course, with just ladders. It's just a lot harder. Now, I think we're missing this guy because he's launching catapults. It really is wild. He's got a target over there in the river, evidently. Did you hit it yet? I guess that's the walls, right? Basically, I see what's going on here. The walls, for some reason or other, the showing of the walls is like totally crooked here. Now, it's actually a problem because this guy's infatuated with the walls, even though they have a fire catapult blasting us. In fact, both of these dipshits are infatuated with the walls. So the walls are going to be down, but the fire catapults are going to be up. That's a bad result for us, right? Now, the good news is once the wall is destroyed, which is now, they will start to focus on this catapult, or at least you would think so. The unfortunate thing, bad news, is that there's another catapult almost built, and I just got my finger on the pause button because this is going to work. No catapults, 2 for us, a hole in the wall, and again, should be just an ass-whipping siege. Man, that was weird. Graphical effects, and then my fucking recording device shutting off. Fuck you, technology, says the old guy. Okay, Boomer. All right, let's wrap this shit up here. And this might be it, especially if the Sturgeons want to throw us a nice big juicy peace offer here. We might turn it back over to you, Daniel. Of course, we're going to send you 2 or 3 save games in case you want to take over in the middle there. I've been doing that with guys where I take over their situation for, you know, a couple hours. I want to give you guys the option, basically, of having a save game that's a little earlier. Maybe you want to do some of those same processes and try them out yourself. Or maybe, of course, you want all the way to our most updated save game. I like to give you guys that option, basically. Javelin division looks good there. We've got heaps of troops. It's fine. It's kind of bizarre. We've got this 7th division as kind of a micro division, or it's a combo division. We don't need to be too perfect with this situation here. Now, I still want some troops assigned to the ram, right? So we will assign 4th division to the ram. There, I think they're assigned. They're kind of haywire. Let's get up there. So 2nd, 5th, 6th, 7th. Again, for some reason, I didn't see it before battle. The 3rd division is just disappearing. Now, I think they have a lot of fiend champs because they're certainly applying a lot of pressure archer-wise, right? So we're going to race up here, 1st division, 2nd division, and these guys at this stage, they can also open fire. There's no holding fire here. When there's this many enemies on the walls, we want to apply pressure to these archers and blow these fuckers off the wall. You know, there's just always another battle. Part of the reason we go across Reddit and whatnot on the channel and talk to guys about tactics is that the bottom line is that Bannerlord is a lot harder to play without tactics. You can just blunt your way through stuff, smash your way through stuff, but man, is it more satisfying to do it with tactics, right? To do it with intentional troop movement. That way, you're the one that can say, I'm the reason. I'm probably the reason that we succeeded here. It wasn't because the AI just did its thing, right? We directly led to victory. There's a feeling of satisfaction to that just can't be beat. Can't be beat. Just riding our horse through the gatehouse. It's so badass. The militia's like, oh shit, these guys mean business. There's a horse charging right through here. And of course, I've been playing this campaign for a couple hours now. You're starting to feel, you know, sort of one with the keyboard. It's amazing how the game gets easier. The more you play it, the more your hands become sort of in tune with your mouse. You guys keep on charging, bud. Don't look behind you with the huge amount of infantry that just poured into your citadel. You guys are fucked. Now you can't open the door from a horse if memory serves me right, so we will open this door manually for our guys here. Get off me, militia. Oh, you almost got me, Manavleton. Just shoved him for a whole bunch of our troops. And this siege, this noble here, just right in the face. Over in the blink. Level up your throwing skill a little bit more, and another complete thrashing here. The value of siege, very evident from these blitzes. We lost another 30 troops, 32 troops here, smashing our way through keeps. And very quickly, Beowulf, your clan is recovering and turning into a beast. Right, we're leveling up units left and right. We're smashing the Sturgeons into submission. The Northern Empire is next, right? In fact, I think we might have one or two battles against the Northern Empire in the open field, because it would be nice to leave you with a completely solved situation. In other words, profitable tributes from 2 or 3 different kingdoms. All these guys roaring and yelling. I hope there's not a stuck troop here, because we'll have to back out of the siege. But it'd be nice to leave you with a profitable daily tribute situation. You might, at some point or other soon, tell the Sturgeons and whatnot, go fuck yourself for peace. You're not getting peace from us. Not the Sturgeons, but the Valandians. Same thing, right? I think there is a guy who fell through the fucking wall here or something like that. I hear him pounding on him. Let's see if it's worth it to run inside here. But it'd be nice to leave you a situation where you're just, you know, day-to-day profitable, right? This is obviously a critical thing for war. Although, again, to reemphasize, you did the right thing by having a huge amount of gold before you became your own kingdom. As soon as you did that, right, you set yourself up for success. And this guy he's like stuck in the fucking building here or something like that. So a little anticlimactic here. We got to retreat and then send troops. But it is what it is. The system.
Enough.
Well, enough. Come with us. Now, what I really want are some lake rat wreckers, right? The fans of the channel know that I'm always searching for skirmishers, lake rat wreckers. I really think that skirmishers, if used correctly, is the most devastating force in Banner Road, especially combined with deadly archers. You get some savage arrows here for your companions to apply. Let's pillage the shit out of this castle. We don't want to make our troops unhappy here. Our guys are leaving a garrison in there. And I think we'll search for one more battle for this episode here, since I was rudely interrupted here. I don't even mind it being against the Northern Empire in the open field, right? At this stage, we welcome a big, difficult battle. It'd be fun to have a climax battle against the Northern Empire. Of course, we don't need to fight, 20,000 in the open. We don't need to have something audacious. Can't afford to leave a huge defense force here, but what I can do is I can go in here to manage castle and say, nah, none of this other shit, right? I want you guys to focus on just the militia. Let's just do trained militia. That way they build up that militia force. The loyalty's at 0, but that doesn't mean shit. And ask and you shall receive, right? Now, it's not a big enough force actually to be, sort of a credible battle. I'll be surprised if they attack us here, right? Our force is tough. We're playing a little back and forth action. I don't give a shit about this caravan. We'll let them take that caravan, and you know what we can do after that caravan? We'll attack them. It'll be daylight, and we'll be able to salvage those troops from that caravan. We got another force here attacking with us. I don't know if this really qualifies for a good final battle, but we'll fight this out here and roll right along. Of course, you auto-resolve the battle where you're barely favored. You're going to have like 50 survivors. Just not willing to do that. And we love tactics, right? We're going to continue to demonstrate tactics. Now, high ground, always seeking high ground. I already can tell you I want this right area, this bowl. So one of the things we can do is we can position troops to race there, right? Basically put them at the front of the box here so that those guys can get there as soon as they can. I'm going to change. We're going to have a little shock troop division. I don't know if we actually have shock troops yet in your army. Probably not. It's probably a bunch of recruits. Zoom in here. Yeah, it's a lot of recruits. There's actually a fair bit of javelins. There's a few shock troops in there, but you know, it's not really what I would consider a fully fleshed out division. We've got so few archers. It's glaring for sure. You should just be recruiting archers non-stop from this stage forward. All right, let's see if we can't get the high ground here. Use our small amount of archers to good effect. At least they're good archers, right? I remember you had sharpshooters in this army, Daniel. Sharpshooters are great. We had like, I want to say 20 when this episode started, right? I would think 50 crossbow is a nice number for you to get as your army gets to 350, 400. I know that might seem like a lot to players. It's not, right? You really have, there's no reason not to have like 50 crossbow in your army.
Cavalry!
Now, I better tell you what this blur of different commands is, especially since you can't probably see. Oh, this is interesting. The enemy is making a defensive stand with 40 archers, so mostly infantry here. So I'll tell you another one of the basic secrets of Bannerlord. It is all about range superiority, at least the tactic that I typically elicit. What we're going to do here is basically smash any cavalry that's dumb enough to approach our troops. We've got plenty of good archers. So 3rd Division, the 1st Division here can charge because the enemy cavalry is deciding they would like to die immediately. They're getting shot and stabbed and smoked. And now we're going to get archers up on this ridge, right? 4th and 5th Corps, let's get these guys up there. Pretty sure we have full range superiority over the enemy, and what that means is that they're going to have to come to us, right? Right now they're taking this defensive stand. You see that 40 archers? That's not going to work for them. They're at the back, too. They're kind of pitiful archers. Not going to work for the AI. So we now have the high ground up there. Let's pull these guys back.
Follow me! Troops! Retreat! Follow me!
No reason to rush in here. The enemy's going to charge us. The reason they're going to charge is because we're going to pound them at range. We're moving archers up to this high point. Those archers are going to do work. Let's put infantry way over here. 1st Division and a nice shield wall. Next to them, we'll put the 2nd and 3rd Division. We don't really have a true shock troop division, but it's not bad. There's one right there, right? These guys with two-handed weapons. The cavalry go in front of them to absorb arrows, right? The enemy's got horse archers and whatnot. We're not about to let them shoot our shock troops, especially since they don't have shields. Now the enemy's being smoked. We can move our skirmishers in here. They probably have at least a few javelins. It's probably not a lot. It's probably not going to be nearly as effective as if you had, 100 skirmisher type, Battanian skirmisher types. But the enemy's in a fucked position. They're now surrounded by infantry. They're getting rained on by archers. And swinging here. I want them to charge, and sometimes you can make them charge by causing a few more losses. Now let me show you what they're looking at. Skirmishers over there pounding them. Their whole formation is kind of swiveling around like they have no idea what to do. Our skirmishers are just throwing javelins like nuts. Let's get cavalry over here in front of our skirmishers. I see an awful lot of peasants in our skirmishers, guys with no shield. Again, you don't really have a fully fleshed out army full of skirmishers like I'd like you to have. And of course, anybody wants to see sort of the army composition that we recommend, right? Our channel's full of videos like that. Now we're going to apply our little pressure here. The 2nd and 3rd Division sweep up on the enemy's right flank, our left flank, right? Now they're attacking our square. We're going to charge on the other side, right? The 6th Division is told to charge. All those skirmishers can engage here. But what we really want is this 3rd and 2nd Division sweeping through the enemy ranks here. And this is shield and shock. Right? Cavalry lead the way. You can't see them, but behind them are shock troops. Or maybe they're peasants. But in theory, those guys are now protected. the cavalry run up, and it gives these guys the ability to close on all these archers without getting shot. Now the enemy is sandwiched between all these converging forces. The first division can now be told to charge. The enemy's getting strafed while they're attacking that division by our archers behind them. On the screen fizzes green as they get smoked. Now, it wasn't going to be a battle we lose anyways, but this is just a dissection of the enemy force. And critically, keeping our vital archers alive, right? None of those guys died, or very few died. Like the sharpshooters are out of ammo. That's why they're just standing there looking at me. I don't think the enemy's going to make it out of that one alive. They're running for the hill. They're screaming for help. Now, I wish it was 900 Northern Empire forces. At this stage, your army is getting to the point where it can handle big armies. It's not, you know, a juggernaut because a lot of these troops still got to upgrade, right? That's why this kind of a battle is actually really important. All these little woodmen and these guys with 20 athleticism, we need to get those guys kills. These are literally, some of these guys are literally recruits, hence the 70 losses. Again, that's a lot more than you would anticipate in a battle like this. But it's, you know, it's an army that's still upgrading. How many upgrades? 109 upgrades, right? That's a big step towards dominance. And we're going to hit a few Battanian villages here. Grab some more Battanian units here. Stacking up the elite units. Again, that caravan they captured becomes our caravan. Our units, thank you. And this is also not the worst way to get Battanian skirmishers, is just the old prisoners, right? I like to take kind of one of each, right? That way you get the highest level of recruiting. I haven't seen any wildlings. That's your target, right? Or at least that's what I would suggest be your target, Daniel. Other guys that are building their army in this part of the map, you do you. If you want to do all raiders and Battanian scouts, right? If you have a certain way you want to play, you do you. But I think this way is going to lead you to a lot more success. Now, is this shit? I think this shit's being actively raided. One more battle for this campaign. We'll see. It may not happen. The owner of Flintor. Yeah, guess what? That's us. This Godun guy, you can always give him things later on, but during the voting process, I tell this guy every time to eat a dick. These are our cities, our castles. Now, this is good as long as we can get there in time, right? This village is being actively raided by this Sturgeon force. He took off. I wish we would have got there to save it because our relations would have improved and you would have been able to recruit a lot more units here. Nevertheless, we're still able to get those troops, chase that guy off, and we'll sweep around south here and see if there's any action in this valley. But I think we're ready to wrap this episode up. It's been a virtually continual thrashing here. We've had an interruption or two, but our enemies are definitely on their back. And the peace treaties are going to start to flow, right, Daniel? The next time you get a peace offer, in fact, where was that shit? Let's see if it's still, here we go. They offer us a white peace. Hell no. Hold out, dude. Make them give you thousands, right? What do the Sturgeons have left? They have one castle, right? Demand everything. Now, they may just go extinct, right? So you say, well, you know, I want a lot of money, and then they're gone next week. It doesn't really matter, right? I guess... Let's just peek here, just in case there's a big Northern Empire force. We're at the bridge here, which is one of the best landscapes for tactics. See if there's any Northern Empire forces. That guy looked like he might have been joining an army up there. Where are you going, dude? We got just kind of like random shit going on here. And still peace with the Khazate, right? They like your money, evidently, Daniel. I'm going to turn it over to you right here. I don't want to spend another hour looking for foes to defeat, but your homeland is starting to form here, right? You got 2 castles, 2 big cities. Your income is actually positive for the first time. Settlement income, 2,700. Love it, right? You're now positive money. You still got some issues with your enemies, right? The Khazate and the Northern Empire, those are the guys you're concerned about. Maybe at some point or other, you go to war with one of those guys. You got a battle you need help with, Daniel. Come on back, right? We'll help you, brother. You can share it with the Reddit fellas or just here on our YouTube channel if you want. Of course, that's a reminder to all of you fellas. If you have a campaign or a battle that's difficult for you, I'm here to help you solve it. I actually play a lot of these on duty, right? I'm getting paid to solve your problems. Good stuff. If you don't know, I'm a full-time firefighter. I appreciate you fellas. Of course, you want to hit that like button. Please subscribe if you want to see more from our channel, more solutions to difficult Bannerlord campaign issues. Hit that like button on the way out. And with all that said, I will see you and Daniel and everybody else next time.